Welcome to Story Punk. I am Scott.
And I am Drew.
And we are here to talk about, today, The Running Man from 2025. It's the remake directed by Edgar Wright, who also brought us Shaun of the Dead, spelled the other way.
Yes, that's true.
And he also did Scott Pilgrim and Baby Driver. And he almost did Ant-Man.
Yes, he did. And he also did Hot Fuzz.
Hot Fuzz.
And At World's End, the Cornetto trilogy.
Yes.
I would argue that he used to make better movies.
Yeah. Well, I will argue also that this movie does not feel like an Edgar Wright movie, but that's something we'll get into.
Yeah, I think that's actually fair, and I don't even know that that's necessarily a criticism of the movie, but it feels the least like an Edgar Wright movie. Yes. And I mean, Ant-Man was kind of the least interesting of all of the Marvel movies of that era, when they had basically a big point and were going someplace. Yeah. And I don't know that his version would have been any better or less. But this feels more like a cog in a franchise kind of thing.
I do feel like Ant-Man was.
It should have been the quirkiest one. It's
yeah. I mean, it was a different idea where you. I mean, I think up to this point, you did. This guy was a criminal,
right?
So
and it was more funny,
yeah.
not just Definitely. Like it's an action movie with good jokes, but you know. Like action scenes were actually built on things like, look, the whole building disappeared kind of thing. And it was funny. So,
but for those that are not familiar with The Running Man, the one from 1987 that starred Arnold Schwarzenegger, or this one with, Glenn Powell in 2025.
Glenn Powell and a little towel.
Yes. I had a lot of anxiety watching him punch glass naked because I don't like to be around anything sharp when I'm naked. It's just my preference.
I don't know that that's a preference you have to apologize for being unusual.
I think
I and many people share that.
Yes.
And if you don't share that, I'm sure there's a group on Reddit for you.
Sure. Yeah, really.
No judgment.
Anyway, this is, but this movie, just a brief synopsis, is a man, in this case, Ben Richards.
A running man.
A running man. Well, but this is just a man. He joins a game show. It's like a reality game show where the contestants are allowed to flee basically anywhere in the world, and then they're pursued by hunters that are hired to kill them. But in addition to the hunters, really anybody can either give the network that's running the game show, can give them tips, and they can get money for that, or they can, it was my understanding, they can also kill them as well. Kill any of the runners.
Yeah, and you get money for killing them. Yeah, it's crazy because that's such a crazy dystopian kind of vision of the world. Is that based on anything?
What? The Most Dangerous Game? I
mean, Stephen King.
Oh yeah. It's yeah. I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about in real life. I was like, what?
No.
Yeah, no. It's based on a Stephen King novel, and it's very. I do find it interesting that the books that he wrote earlier in his career, because we also did The Long Walk, are concerned with very poor people entering into these, set in the dystopian future, entering into these barbaric games.
If they weren't called the Bachman books, because that was the pseudonym he wrote them under, you could call them the Desperation books.
Yeah, because there are. Well, he does have a book called Desperation, but that's
different.
Yeah, that's different. But there are. And even the ones that aren't about people entering into contests they're all pretty bleak. To be honest, Thinner is probably the one that's the least bleak, and that's still pretty messed up. But anyway, this movie has I believe did I say this before we started recording? Glenn Powell is our hero, Ben Richards. Josh Brolin with his delicious caps is Dan Killian, who's like the head of the network that the show is on. We have Coleman Domingo, who's appropriately over the top. I like him. He's a game show host, so I think it's appropriate that he's definitely he's going a little bit over the top as he's the host, Bobby T.
I just realized that's the second movie I've seen recently where the head of the network, they focus a lot on his mouth, because Dennis Quaid in The Substance.
Okay.
Also like veneers. And I mean, the grossest, that movie Full of Body Horror, the grossest scene in the whole movie is watching him eat crawfish. And there's a lot of close-ups. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I like Josh Brolin a lot. I think his performance is good, but deliberately so. His mouth is like really distracting.
I know. At first it was like, it's one of those things where you're looking at him and you go, wait a minute, something's off about him. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden you're like, it's those freaking...
But it turns out what's really off about him is his morals.
Thanks. I feel like I'm in Sunday school. And we have Lee Pace as Evan McCone. He's like the main hunter.
What's really funny is that, spoiler alert, the hunters are 4 people that you know their faces, and then their leader, McCone, is more mysterious, and he wears a mask. We find out why later. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
But as soon as I saw him, just watching the movie, I was like, that dude looks like Lee Pace. Because Lee Pace is so tall, and he's so sort of distinct looking.
I really notice it like towards the end. There's a scene. It's the scene where Ben Richards is in the car with the when they get off the highway and
the woman he's allegedly taken hostage.
Yeah, and you see Lee Pace, and he's like standing like in front of a car, and I'm like, that dude is tall. Like, his legs are like they're 6 feet tall.
That's the thing. He's like a tall,
he's very lanky,
long.
And also we had Jamie Lawson from Sinners plays his wife, Sheila Richards.
Oh yes,
Don't
forget Lee Pace was also in Bodies.
But Jamie Lawson. You know what? I actually forgot that she was the mayor in the Batman movie, and I totally forgot about that.
In the Robert Pattinson one?
Yep.
Well, clearly I forgot about that too.
She is, and she also has she's briefly in 2 episodes of The Penguin.
Okay.
Too.
That seems fair since she's the mayor.
She's the mayor, and so that's really what we're dealing with here in this. And I think the theme is sort of this movie, probably like the main theme, very similar to The Long Walk, would be this commodification of human suffering. I think it's a little more focused on corporate media power as opposed to The Long Walk, where it was sort of like this. It was more about, like, I guess, patriotism or
The Long Walk.
nationalism.
I think. I mean, both what I'm about to say clearly shares themes, all 3 of them. But the Long Walk seems more like Hunger Games, where it's a specific way to distract people to establish and maintain the control of the central authority.
Yeah.
Whereas that's also what's happening in this movie, but the central authority in this movie is a company that only cares about money. So if we give you this show to concentrate on and freak out about and get excited about, you don't notice, hopefully, that your life is complete garbage. I mean, that you have no chance of winning, or no chance of earning a living and getting your kid medicine, never mind winning a fortune.
It definitely gave me the like cyberpunk vibes, where it's like where the corporations are the have more control over the masses than even the government, or at the very least they're working with the government.
We can talk about it a little bit more later, but I mean, as far as dystopian world building goes, I mean, this reminded me, although I think it's better, a lot of the RoboCop remake, and something that is way better, the Dredd movie.
Oh yeah, the one with
Carl Urban.
Yes, that's actually excellent.
It's an incredible movie, and I'm not I haven't read a lot of comic books. I actually did read some of the 2000 AD or whatever it's called that has Dredd and other stuff in it. And I thought those were kind of neat. And then when the Judge Dredd movie came out with Sylvester Stallone, I remember thinking, this is really stupid. But I had a good time with it. Like, I saw it in the theater in college, and I had a fun time with it. But Dredd is very, very serious and very, very violent and deserves a sequel. It was supposed to have another one. And it was Alex Garland wrote it, and it was supposed to be, then it's going to be a TV series, that kind of stuff. And it feels like it's just better world building, but it's the same kind of, like, you live in a shitty apartment in a shitty tower, and your life is desperate, and life is very violent. Because throughout this movie, there are these, they call them goons. Yeah. And the goons are the judges, in a sense. They're definitely the peacekeepers from the Hunger Games. They are a muscle of, really, in this movie, of the corporation as opposed to the state. But fascism is corporations and the state bound together. So that's not an unrealistic idea of how the future could look.
Whoever's in power.
Right.
Something else that it was sort of thematic to this movie is, it's actually kind of scary because of where we are right now. Like, really, like, right at this moment in 2026 is the use of AI to alter things, which actually it's kind of it's it. When I was watching it, and they're doing stuff like that, because when Ben Richards doesn't really kind of follow the script that they want, they just alter his all the video, anything that they have, and because they need a baseline of randomness to sell the reality, because that's they said Ben asks Killian, the Josh Brolin character, who's the head of the network, why don't you just do a whole AI show? Why don't you just do artificial intelligence and make the whole? And he's like, we tried that, and people they can tell it's fake. So we need sort of that randomness. But you can see whenever he starts to go off of the kind of the path that they feel is going to give them the most ratings, they just AI it up.
Well, the thing is also, I mean, the reason the show works as well as it does for them as the villainous, people trying to control things, is that anybody can be on the show. Anybody can be part of the show. So if you make a show where there isn't actually anybody out there running, there isn't really a chance for you to see him run by and maybe take a shot at him or take a video and get $1,000 or whatever, then you're going to figure that out.
Yeah.
Because this is not a world that doesn't have, the communication of things like the internet and stuff like that. So it's just funny that they're like, listen, real people are going to have to die real bad. Otherwise the show isn't good.
Well, and I do wonder, so you have the guy, I forgot what his name is. The guy that's the apostle or whatever. Where is he broadcasting? Is there some type of internet? I never really was clear on that. Is there some type of internet?
I'm not sure if it's some kind of like central net that he hacks or what. Because that's part of the problem with the world building is that, well, two problems. One of them is that some stuff, I don't want to say it's not thought out. It might be thought out. It doesn't feel clear.
Yeah.
But also I wasn't interested enough to be upset about that.
Well, I mean, yeah. So because there is this idea, there's definitely this surveillance culture kind of thing that's going on. I've read a couple books recently where that's sort of like a whole thing where it's like, and if you read anything in sort of that cyberpunk genre, that's always a big component of, to one degree or another, the powers that be are monitoring you somehow, like more invasive than you would want them to.
Well, that's from 1984, the telescreen. The idea, like, this is an old TV, it doesn't watch you back.
Yeah.
That's literally the telescreen. Like Winston Smith wakes up in the morning to do his calisthenics.
Yeah.
And I don't remember the number or what they called him, but essentially, like, he's supposed to be doing his calisthenics and the TV yells at him, with some human being through the TV yells at him like he's not doing enough jumping jacks or something like that. And so, that's this movie reminded me of a lot of not like they were trying not to be this, but a lot of these kinds of dystopian future stories and movies and stuff. It just wasn't. I don't even want to say it wasn't original enough. It just wasn't. It didn't feel that fleshed out. Like the movie is an episodic movie, like The Long Walk.
It's almost a little too.
It's very distinct sections, and that doesn't really serve it, because what ends up happening is you meet characters. You're like, he's kind of annoying, but Michael Cera's kind of interesting. Oh, he's dead. They just kind of go through them,
whether they die or not. It's like you're like, well, okay, so it's like you don't build any connection with them because they're gone.
That kid who saves him and then says, "Here's my brother," who turns out to be the guy who is that that broadcaster you were talking about.
I think it's the apostle. I think that's what they call him.
Well, also keep in mind that the difference between this and the Schwarzenegger movie, which took place in the far future of 2017. Is that was more like the idea of the AI show that you're talking about. It's in an arena.
Yeah.
And so you watch on TV and you can bet on it and stuff like that, but it's not a game that you play.
Yeah.
It's like one of my favorite junk movies I've probably mentioned before is the Paul W.S. Anderson version with Jason Statham of Death Race. Uh-huh. And that is literally like watch the race, root for the big guy who wins all the races, and they're all terrible criminals and all this other stuff, and they they will, if they win enough races, they'll be freed. And in the Schwarzenegger version, he's like, I'm not killing civilians. And so then they kill civilians and then frame him for it.
Yeah.
And in this movie, like what you're saying, the deep fake AI, whatever you want to call it, they basically make Ben Richards, Glenn Powell's character, like he'll say things and then they'll just change it to not only did he not say something that's negative and accurate about the leadership, he said something that's murderous and awful. So that we're rooting against him because you could see him and you could kill him and you could make money. Like it's very compelling when you can't get medicine for your kid who's got a fever.
I mean, you can't get the public rooting against the guy who only entered this so he can get medicine for his sick kid. People are going to be like, they would want to help him. I mean,
right, exactly.
Or most people would want to help him.
Right. I mean, it was like, well, can we get a GoFundMe? I mean, to me, the GoFundMe thing in our culture is one of the best examples of how we already live in a dystopia. Because people are like, this person got really sick, and they had a $400,000 hospital bill.
Yeah.
And they started a GoFundMe, and people all over the country contributed to them, and they paid the bill. Isn't that nice? I'm like, in a way, people being generous like that is nice. The fact that you have to do that is fucking horrendous.
Yeah.
And this movie is a world where people's lives are very much on a string. Did you watch Black Mirror?
I've seen some of it. I don't watch it regularly. I mean, I'd like to. I just
because I think in the first season there was an episode with Daniel Kaluuya, Academy Award winner.
Yes.
And Sybil from Downton Abbey that was called 15 Million Credits, where people are like riding a bike to earn credits and they want to participate in games and they could win like the American Idol game or they could end up in the porno game or like all this other stuff. But it's the same thing. It's like everything is a game, but your life without the possibility of winning these games, like if you really faced it, is horrific.
Yeah.
And so this movie is more like 1984 than, as far as the world, than 15 Million Credits, but it's all the same. There are very few people that have everything and control everything, and that's of course not at all realistic.
I know it's like the working class is a product, not the audience.
Right. Well, keep in mind, you get on Facebook, you're the product.
Yes.
So
if it's that's what they say. If something is free, then you're the product.
It's true though.
Yeah. So one of the things so I read this like many years ago. So I had to actually look a few things up because I don't remember much.
Oh, we're old. Don't feel bad.
Yeah, I don't remember much about the Running Man novel at all. I remember it wasn't very long.
Yeah, I read those Bachman books. I think.
Would you read like
high school,
the compilation or something?
Well, no, I mean they put out an omnibus.
Yeah, I remember it had skulls on the front.
Yeah, I read that, and I remembered it so poorly. I think I said in our long walk episode, I was conflating the two stories as one. But yeah, I mean, I remember that it was a good story. It was certainly this adaptation is more faithful to the version in the book.
Except that what they did that was one of the things they did change, which they didn't put in either movie, was that, and I kind of understand why, is that Ben Richards actually flies the plane he actually really does fly the plane.
The ending, yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He actually does fly the plane kamikaze style into the
I actually remembered that when we were watching it because I wasn't sure how the movie was going to end, and I was like, oh, are they going to really do it? And then they shoot him down so he doesn't crash into the skyscraper where the show is broadcast and all the people are and stuff. And he still gets his revenge against Josh Brolin. It's just really stupid and unsatisfying.
I mean, I guess on paper I could see why someone might think it's satisfying, but it's kind of lame because it's kind of like,
well, it's small.
Well, okay. Yeah, I get that too. It doesn't, I mean, like, I guess the way that they try to make it big is the whole thing where they keep you're the igniter or whatever. So
right,
and I guess that's the way that they're trying to make it big is that it's like, but there is something, and I totally agree with you. There's something about it, even though if you're trying to make it seem like he's the one that started this revolution, there's something about that whole idea of like you're the one that's starting the revolution. It just. There's something about doesn't.
You know why
right.
that doesn't work, and the reason it doesn't work is because it doesn't feel like you understand his motivation. He's like, I need money, and he's like, I'm not. He told his wife, I'm not going to do the Running Man. I can win money on the trivia show, on the wheel, whatever. I'm not going to do that. And then they ask him to do it, and he says no. But then eventually he agrees to go on the show. And it's because he's trying to protect his family and get his daughter medicine. And what do you win $1 billion new if you win the Running Man? He doesn't need $1 billion new to get medicine, but that tells you right. That was funny, yeah. But it tells you how desperate he is and everything. The thing that it reminded me of again, and it's really interesting in the books and in the movies, is Katniss in the Hunger Games becomes the Mockingjay, which is a symbol of the revolution and the fight and the resistance against the Capitol, which she doesn't want to be.
Yeah.
Except she does want freedom. She does want the Capitol to be, knocked out of, controlling their lives. She wants to protect her mom. She wants to protect her sister. And she basically, gets used by the resistance like they do. Like they have a camera crew following her around and all this kind of stuff. And Katniss is like, I know this needs to be done, but I don't like it, which is an interesting idea. In this, why would he even consider it? He's being told you are this important symbol, and he goes, I don't really want to be that. And you go, yeah, no, of course you don't want to be that. You're not fighting a fight against the government and to change the world. You're trying to get medicine for your sick kid, and he doesn't get bigger than that. And it's okay that he doesn't get bigger than that.
I feel like, too, that's the other thing, too, is that there is, I don't feel like they don't sell the idea of that he needs to get out of the slums. Not that anybody wants to live in the slums, but I feel like there's the immediate need that he needs some medicine, but it's like he doesn't need a whole lot of money to need the you almost feel like it's almost an overkill to be like, well, you're going to get $1 billion, and it's like he just needs medicine. It's not,
but I mean that kind of money is intoxicating. I mean, every once in a while I'll spend $5 whole, which is real money, to buy a Mega Millions ticket, which is not real money because I won't win.
Yeah,
but it's fun to pretend, and I don't pretend like, oh my God, I'll totally be able to buy antibiotics.
I know, but it's sort of like,
although I fucking could.
I think you lose. It kind of gets like the idea is diluted because you don't feel like there's no sense of there's a sense of desperation in the fact that he he's getting money all along. So I think maybe if they would have took that device out of it, where he's like they're making deposits into an account. So so at a certain point it's like, oh, really, pretty much after that first couple, or like what was it? I forget what it was. Like right away he has enough money to get her.
Even if he survives for like 24 or 48 hours, he has enough money.
He has enough money. So
right.
so you're like you don't have that
well, that was all kind of underdeveloped too.
Yeah.
There are other things. Again, the Hunger Games, one of the things that people who are watching on TV can do, if they want to support one of the kids that's playing the actual Hunger Games, they can send you a thing. So a drone will fly in and drop down a little package in a parachute, and that could be food, that could be a tool, that could be different stuff like that. The whole world building in this is much looser, which I don't think serves it when they have a game that has rules. Like, you have to give us a 10-minute video every day.
Yeah.
And if you don't mail it in, then we can still kill you. And if you win, you won't get any money. Like, I don't care.
It was a little vague.
It's too much.
It's like the and the other thing too. It's like I think it's almost like they felt that it's like, well, you know how things work now, so this is sort of like an amped up. Like, I feel like they were relying on that. You know what I mean? It was like,
it's familiar enough.
You've seen Mr. Beast. You've seen the Mr. Beast games,
or you've seen
how this goes,
or you've seen Squid Game.
Yeah, It's like there's enough stuff in pop culture that we don't need to go too in depth, and it's like, well, you kind of do, because you have to establish this world. I just, at no point in time, like all this crazy stuff that's happening around him, I just was never feeling. And it's funny, and I don't want to talk about this too much but I am going to reference. Our next episode is at the movie No Way Out. No Way Out. The whole, once you get midway into that movie, the whole time you're like, holy shit. How's this guy? You know what I mean? Like I felt like I was in a pressure cooker for that movie. This movie, I'm just kind of like.
Well, also that's a movie that we'll talk about this in that episode. But my as I hadn't seen it in a long time, it's kind of like, what's interesting about this movie is for the first 45 minutes, in a good way, you're not really sure what kind of movie are you watching.
Yeah,
like, is it an action movie? Is it a thriller? Is it a romance? Drama? Like, you just don't know.
Yeah,
in this movie, pretty quickly what the world is and how everything works, and what's like, is there any suspense that he's going to be the Running Man? Of course not. So
but there's just nothing. I never felt. I just like there was always there was something that was. I don't know. I just never felt the like a little bit, but just not enough. You know, I was never like concerned, even though I should have been. I mean, it looked like, but there's a few things like when they were fighting on the plane a little bit, because then you're kind of like, oh, he probably could, because I think it's because we're getting towards the end of the movie, like, oh, he could actually die here. I never felt like that at any other point in the movie.
Yeah,
I was never like, I was like, he's just gonna
and anybody he's with that he's in danger with, they'll probably die.
Yeah, so
he can go meet somebody else and endanger them. Also, I mean, the other thing with this movie, it has a good cast, but
yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm totally blanking on his name. The runners in each season of the Running Man, and this was the final run of the season or whatever. They have 3 runners.
Yeah,
and so one of them is one of the
there's an archetype
kids from Saturday Night Live.
Oh yeah.
And he's very funny in a very brief role because his whole point is like he's dumb, he'll die soon, and that's what happens. And then the other one is Katie O'Brien.
Yes, I know. I remember you were talking about her.
I love Katie O'Brien. I think she's awesome. She needs another movie where she's a much bigger part of it, like Love Lies Bleeding. She was
underused in this movie.
Absolutely.
Too.
And she, I mean, to me,
I feel like they could have done a little bit more. I know you don't want to make the movie too long.
Right, but they could have done more with her character because she is such a charismatic, dynamic presence. I mean, I remember watching Z Nation, which is a total junk zombie show on Sci-Fi that was made for $4.50 an episode or whatever that is super fun. And when she showed up in the last or second to last season, I remember thinking, who is that? Because like she's really so intense and cool.
I didn't watch The Rookie, but I saw some clips of her in the show The Rookie, and I'm like,
is Katie O'Brien in The Rookie?
She's like in it for like a season or 2.
Oh, I'm only on season 2. We're watching it right now.
She's.
I didn't know that. I'm really excited.
She's like a she's like former active duty like Marine maybe, and she's kind of like and I just saw some clips and I was like, oh wow, she's really good. But
look, she's in a lot of great stuff and not in huge roles. She's in the last Mission Impossible movie in one sequence on the submarine that's captained by Tremel Tillman. That whole sequence, it's like, oh, there's 2 people who are only in this small part of the movie who are just, I would watch a whole movie with both of them. They're great.
We should do Love Lies Bleeding. We should do that.
I would absolutely do that.
Yeah, we should do that.
It's amazing.
But yeah,
she's in Twister. She's in a bunch of stuff. She's in. She's very good in Christie. Like she's working steadily, which I think is good because she's got to pay the rent and stuff. But there are certain people that you see for a while, and I just kind of end up like rooting for her as a real person, as an actress. I'm like, you're really good. I want you to succeed. Like when Michael B. Jordan won the SAG-AFTRA award this past weekend or whatever for Sinners, the joy on the faces of the people that he beat, like Ethan Hawke, it was real. It was super sweet.
What's his face? I just lost his name. Jesse Plemons.
Yeah, well, Jesse Plemons looked thrilled for him. Well, I think it's super sweet.
Well, they've known each other for so long.
Right, but which is wonderful.
Yeah,
and, you know, I mean, when Amy Madigan,
he was ready to cry.
Like, it was very sweet. Yeah, and when Amy Madigan won, actors are real people in a business, and they share all this kind of stuff. And I feel like I never heard anything bad about Katie O'Brien, so I'm assuming that she's somebody that if she really gets that kind of like lead role or attention, people will be excited for her. And I think Glenn Powell could be like that. I really like him. Yeah. He Tom Cruise, when he was coming up, he was, under the wing of Paul Newman. Yeah. And Paul Newman helped him. And this is a nice thing. This isn't a bad thing. And Tom Cruise has been kind of doing the same thing for Glenn Powell. And I really like Glenn Powell. This is not the movie that made me feel like, we have figured out Glenn Powell. Like, he's way more fun and charming in Twisters.
No. Well, yeah. Well, but I will say this, though. I do feel like this type of movie, though, I do feel like it does show another sort of like, it is different than some of the other movies that he's been in. So I do feel like he can show off like that. This is more action, a little bit of comedy, like than he's done in some of his other movies, I think.
Well, he definitely got yoked. I mean, it's funny because the whole scene we talked about where he's Glenn Towel, where he runs around in a towel and he's literally like punching glass, which you're uncomfortable with, which I understand. And stuff.
Punching glass while naked.
But he's also, I mean, he is
recommend.
He is big, which is kind of funny because he's not Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
Nobody is Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
Even other bodybuilders that their arms were as big or their chest was as big or whatever. Arnold Schwarzenegger
You have very few people.
Right, I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger is Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
You know, it's love it or hate it, he is a specific thing. I think, of course, like most people, he was very entertaining, and The Running Man was in his great run of these big 80s action movies that made him the movie star that he
actually
became.
why Stephen King did not like that movie, because Ben Richards is supposed to be like everyman, and he kind of felt like this is American Gladiator. This is
he's not. I mean,
yeah.
if you said based on the novel,
Yeah.
and I've heard that Stephen King didn't like it for that reason. Arnold Schwarzenegger should have been the lead hunter.
Yeah.
He should have been like
That would have been
like Dynamo
better.
or one of these guys, and he would have been the big one. He would have been the Jesse Ventura character or something. But Arnold Schwarzenegger wasn't so big at that. Was becoming so big. He wasn't the big guy who, like, if he showed up for 15 minutes in the movie, oh, that's cool, it's Arnold kind of thing.
People would have got mad though. They've been like, "What a rip off!" He's
Yeah,
barely
I
in the
need
movie.
more. Yeah,
Yeah, but I did like the idea too that there were that the Running Man had been going on for so long. At this point, they were like, "Oh, there's archetypes for there's
Right.
the guy who who gets killed right away, and then you have like the crazy person."
but that's real. That's how they cast reality shows.
But I'm saying,
and so it was interesting to see like that. That's not dystopian.
No.
Again, that's real.
I'm not saying
And-
it's dystopian. I'm just saying
No, it is dystopian, but it's also reality. That's the thing. Like they cast you to have fights. They cast you to be this type. They cast you like you're the angry black guy, and you're
You just said the exact opposite. I said that, and you went, "That's not dystopian." I said, "Well, I'm not saying it's dystopian." You go, "No, it is dystopian." That's what you just said.
It is dystopian.
I know,
but
but
it's
you
also not the
you just
future.
said it-
I'm sorry, it's
I'm
not
saying
the future
you
dystopian.
You said
We
it
li-
wasn't, and then you said it was.
That's because we live in a dystopia. That's what it is. It's not a dystopian future.
But just
It
make
is-
up your mind.
That's fair. That's totally fair. I've got a drink.
Okay.
But I think
I think you just want to disagree with me.
no, never. But I think also this is, it's funny at the end of the day, what are we watching the characters be in, and what is the audience in the movie watching? They're watching a reality show.
Yes.
And we know what that means. I was watching the America's Next Top Model documentary, like behind the scenes look back, that's on Netflix. Woo. I mean, that is ugly. There's some ugly stuff in that, but it's not. I wasn't surprised that it was ugly stuff, because that's what they do. How many times do you see these shows and they go, "That's how they edited it. That's the story that they told." I wasn't that person. The same way Glenn Powell isn't the guy who said, "Ha ha ha, I'm going to kill my hostage," kind of stuff.
It's actually interesting because right now they're doing the 50th season of Survivor, so they obviously have all archetypes in there. They're picking from the villains and the heroes and everything like that. What's his face from the creator of White Orchid? He's a huge Survivor fan.
White Lotus.
Yes.
Mike White.
Yeah, White Orchid. That's the Mickey Rourke
Yes, it
erotic
is.
thriller.
Yes, it
But
Star of Diner. I understand.
yeah, Star of Diner. But no, White Lotus. Mike White.
Yeah, Mike White.
Jack.
No, it's Mike White from Chuck and Buck. And,
There you go. Yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
So he is. But he played before because he was a huge Survivor fan, and now he's actually there for the 50th. But obviously, they're picking they're picking the archetypes just like they do.
Sure.
So I mean, obviously, this was this was to kind of lend the credibility of a portraying a reality show, but I did like they had the guy. He's like such a dweeb. The guy from the current season of Running Man is just like he's like trying to like talk to the girl at the store or where he was, and he's like, and it's like, hey dummy, like you probably don't want to you shouldn't be hitting on people. You should be hiding.
Yeah. Well, but if you think about it. One of the big things that's always been, that's not surprising because it's part of why networks make reality shows, because they are cheaper than making, The Rookie or something. Because at a certain point, these television shows that have actors in them, if you want to keep Law and Order SVU going for 30 seasons or whatever, you're not going to be able to pay Mariska Hargitay the same money you paid her in the first 2 seasons when you get to season 18 or season 22 or something like that.
And some of them get burnt out too. They don't want to play the same character.
No, they don't. And I get that. And that's fine. But here's the thing. You're still telling a story.
Yeah.
The people who are editing these things and writing these things for the reality shows, they should be in the Writers Guild. I mean, the guys who write the clues for Jeopardy,
Yeah.
the Clue Crew or whatever they call them, those 3 people are in the Writers Guild. That's why, that's why Jeopardy had to stop running new episodes during the strike, because they're in the Writers Guild, because they are writing for television. So the way that reality TV gets around it is that they're not writing it; it's real.
I feel
kind of thing.
I feel like the editors are really. I mean, because
Right,
really,
well, of course,
yeah. Because I mean, that's what people say anyway. Is that's the third draft, or that's the final draft,
Yeah,
really. Of
absolutely.
Any story is.
And sometimes that's it certainly should be guided by the director, but sometimes the director is also the screenwriter, or if it's Steven Soderbergh, also the editor, that kind of thing. But it's it's all the same. It's all, can we tell a compelling story? And I think that I believe that this show, in the world of this movie, the Running Man television show, would be very compelling to people.
Well, and let's talk about the directing a little bit. And this is something we were talking about before. Is that this doesn't feel like an Edgar Wright movie to me?
No,
it just
it really doesn't. It's not the same kind of playful and visually clever and music,
speaking of visually,
music,
visually clever. Well, yeah, I mean, you have the Rolling Stone Heartbreaker song when the goons come in to Michael Cera's house. That's really the only thing that really felt a little more Edgar Wright. But even that, while it did feel a little Edgar Wright, it still didn't feel quite Edgar Wright. Something felt off, and
this is the biggest movie he's ever made, I think. This is like $100 million giant Hollywood action movie. I don't think he's ever made a movie that big.
So he was like, what should I do?
Well, and he's a guy that is known, and appropriately so, for needle drops.
Yeah.
Meaning this is the existing music that's used. I mean, one of the best needle drops I've ever seen is in One Battle After Another from this year, when it does its big jump forward to when you first see Chase Infinity as Leonardo DiCaprio's daughter, and they play Steely Dan's Dirty Work. And it just immediately hits and gives you a vibe and all that kind of stuff. And I don't love Baby Driver, but the whole scene where they play Hocus Pocus Focus, where Jamie Foxx gets killed and then everybody's on the run on the streets, and Anson Elgort is running through a mall and all this kind of stuff, and they're cutting people's gunshots to the like, that's Edgar Wright.
Yeah.
That's not a great movie, but there's a lot of Edgar Wright in it. I really didn't like Last Night in Soho or whatever that one was called.
Well, I don't think you were alone on that one.
No, I know I wasn't, but that still felt like an Edgar Wright movie that didn't work. This feels like a big studio action movie that isn't really special.
I mean, I just felt like there were certain things that he did too that just felt like I was like watching a few things, and maybe they're nitpicky, but I was like, he's better than that. Like, can I tell you? Like, here, I'll give you a couple examples. One was the few things that I just felt were cheap, and I'm like, this is not his. He should not be doing this at the level that I know he is. One thing I don't like, and this is probably a nitpick, I don't like when a character is thinking about something and they flash to an image about what he's thinking about. They do that when he's in Killian's office. He's thinking about his wife, and they flash to and I'm like, that's so. And I mean, that's a nitpick, but that's so lame, and it's so beneath him.
I don't disagree.
There's no reason to ever do that. I love if you just have them just staring off, and you just let that. You fill in what that is, and in that, specifically in that case, you know what he's thinking about. You want to see it. Another thing that I hate a desperate situation that's created that's a fake out. When he first gets to the hotel, and the hunters all come in and they put the gun to his head, and you're like, oh, what the fuck? And then it's like, it's a dream. And I'm like,
that's just lame.
So
the only way that's lamer is when that's the ending. Like,
that would be. I would
really
that's turn off the TV. But that is like, and I was just
because the idea of something not being real, and then you as the audience realize that it's not real. Like, one of my favorite examples of that is Stir of Echoes, where Kevin Bacon's character has these terrible experiences, and then he wakes up. Yeah. But then what he just dreamed about starts to happen. Yeah. And I don't mean to be technical with the film criticism language, but it's creepy as fuck. Yeah. It's really effective. It's really cool. I don't know what they were going for with the scene where Glenn Powell, who doesn't want to be hunted, tracked down, and killed, has a dream where he's hunted, tracked down, and killed. Duh.
But
it's not compelling.
But I feel like they're creating tension only to be like, just kidding. You know what I mean?
No, I think that's what it felt like. It felt like that you were like faking me out, and I was sitting there going, I don't need to be faked out. Like, you should make me care about him, and I didn't not care about him. But the way that the movie works, I don't know the story of the production of this movie. Maybe you do. I don't think this was one of those movies where it got taken away from the director and the reshoots.
I didn't find anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes you make a movie and it just doesn't work. And I don't think it bombed at the box office or anything, did it? I don't know. People seem to be seeing it and talking about it and stuff. It was just a lot of it was just kind of boring. I found myself mostly thinking of other movies, including better Edgar Wright movies.
I mean, like, also filming a car chase. I mean, I know it was I'm sure it was a deliberate artistic choice, but to film a car chase with the protagonist, from the protagonist's point of view, inside of a trunk was like, I mean, okay, I guess. I mean, that was your choice, but I was like, it just seemed like a bad choice.
Well, if you were more into the movie, you would be more impressed by something like that. You might go, that's kind of clever.
Yeah,
but also, if the movie cost $5 million, you'd go, okay, I get it.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
You're not going to have a car chase.
Paragon.
Right, if it was the Paragon,
that would make perfect
and they were in the
sense.
trunk of that giant old Lincoln or whatever.
Yeah, and then I'd be like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, they can't afford a car chase. They had a car hit a guy and drive away, like they can do a certain amount. But this is a big movie with a 9-figure budget or whatever. So
I mean, I do feel like they I mean, the one thing that they did achieve, although I feel it's squandered, is that where the Arnold Schwarzenegger Running Man from '87 did feel very much like this was shot in a studio. Like, like everything, nothing really felt like this. Does feel big, like it's out in the world, because they shot like in a lot of different. They shot in London, they shot in Wembley Stadium, they shot in Glasgow and Bulgaria, they shot in all these different like big places. So it does feel like they're out in the real world. It doesn't feel like it's shot in the studio, but I feel like they squandered all that.
Yeah, I feel like they establish a level of scale. Like they are racing across the country. Excuse me, or not even across. Like he can go wherever he wants.
Yeah.
But there are different parts of cities, and there's the countryside, and there's towns, and there's different things. And like in this scene, he's getting hunted by the country militia or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess part of it is also, it didn't, again, it's the world building. It didn't feel like a real place a lot of the time. And I can't decide if that's because it just didn't convince me or because
I think that's what it was.
The TV show doesn't try to convince you the TV show in the movie doesn't try to convince you it's building a world. It's just showing you your real world.
Yeah. And
so that in theory, the TV show doesn't need to explain things about how the world works. And so to find out at the end that, and this is one of the sort of reveals that I guess is supposed to be exciting, but of course you already figure it out if you're watching the movie. Lee Pace isn't just, that's Lee Pace under the mask. He's the guy that actually won the Running Man.
Yeah, I mean,
and he became the chief hunter.
I know.
Is boring.
When it was like when they said, in season 1 somebody lasted 29 days, and I go, well, that's gonna be important down the road.
Right.
Now, I know first I didn't put together that it was him. Once they had him take his mask off, I go, I bet that's him. You know what I mean? Like I figured that's what, because then it made me start thinking, like, why was he wearing that
right?
mask?
Why would he be masked at all? Because he was the star of a television show for the biggest television show for 20
as soon as he took it off, that I was like, oh, there was a reason why he was, because I was like, oh, maybe he was like this,
disfigured
or something like that, and that's why he. But
also, Lee Pace is 6'5". Yeah. So if Lee Pace if his character was the biggest television star in the world, I think people would figure it out. I also can't tell how much of the obfuscation of reality that's done by the show in the movie is supposed to actually be convincing to the audience. Not so much the stuff where like Glenn Powell's like, I want to do something good.
Yeah.
I want you to know the truth about Josh Brolin is trying to control you. And then they change that into, I want to kill Josh Brolin and fuck that guy. Like, okay, I get that. You don't want him to get his message out.
Yeah, I'm going to burn this place down.
Right. And which is not what he really said. And then of course it cuts to Glenn Powell going, I didn't say that. Well, like, no, I know you didn't say that. That's the whole point.
I know. Well, and that was the only thing that was really like, if I had to think of something that was like really kind of like, if I had one thing that really hit home was, me thinking about like the way that AI and things can be altered, and you know what I mean. Like that's the only thing that I was kind of like that I took from this movie. I was like,
it's disheartening.
Yeah, like that. Like I was like, that could probably happen one day. It probably could happen now.
Do you remember when? And I loved it. This is not a criticism of the show, but at the spoilers, the second season of The Mandalorian ended with Luke Skywalker showing up in the show.
Was that the second season?
Yeah, fantastic sequence.
I couldn't remember. I saw it. I just couldn't remember.
Really amazing. Yeah, and when he comes up, and I guess he comes out of the turbo lift into the bridge of this Imperial ship, and he takes his hood off, and you're like, oh, it's Luke Skywalker, which of course you already know because he's got a green lightsaber and he flew in an X-wing, all that kind of stuff. Plus he's kicking ass like a Jedi, so that's cool. But I remember... You see Mark Hamill's face as Luke Skywalker. That's not Mark Hamill's face. Obviously, Mark Hamill is older than that guy.
Yeah.
But then a whole bunch of whatever technique they used in the show, it was fine. Yeah. But a whole bunch of people went on YouTube and they're like, well, if you did a deep fake, it would look like this. And it looked way better. It really looked like Mark Hamill.
Yeah.
So the one thing the movie doesn't have to sell me on is that, like, who would watch Glenn Powell say something that he didn't really say and it wouldn't be believable? It's totally believable. We don't know what the fuck we're watching half the time anyway. And in the original Running Man movie, the Schwarzenegger movie, there's a scene where they're like, we have to think people, they have to think that Schwarzenegger's character Ben Richards is dead because he's going to like win the game, and that's going to be a problem because it's going to be dangerous for us because people are going to find out he's not some mass murderer. He's a guy who didn't want to kill, and we send him to prison, and we're using him to entertain you, to distract you from how shitty your life is, like starting a war in Iran to distract from pedophilia or whatever. But I think there's a scene where Jesse Ventura...
Let's not talk about
well, there's a scene where Jesse Ventura's character attacks... has a fight in a cage with Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
And you remember at the end of that scene, we cut to the studio that's running the show, and they like digitally, it's the least necessary effect as far as the reality, but they digitally remove the face of Schwarzenegger, and you're like, oh, it's just some guy. Yeah. Like, oh, you didn't have to kill him, that kind of stuff. But it's like it's convincing to the audience. But I want to talk about the original, the original. The
Sub-Zero is now just plain
zero. Yeah. One of the best things, and I like the Running Man movie. It's very 80s. It's very silly. It's got all the one-liners and all that shit. But Richard Dawson, host of Family Feud, is Killian, who is the host of the show, The Running Man, that people watch. So
they basically combine that character.
Well, to me, it's like, why would you bifurcate the Killian character into the Josh Brolin character, who's the network exec running things, and Coleman Domingo, who's the host running things, when both of them are like flatter and less interesting than Killian is the bad guy who's also the host. Yeah. It pissed me off because he's such a great character.
Yeah.
Also, I'm looking at my notes and I said, why would you bifurcate the Killian character into two flat, less than half versions? Alexa, turn off the den. The lights were on. But it bothered me because that is, to me, Richard Dawson, which when I saw that movie, I was 11 years old when it came out. So I was a kid. I didn't grow up watching Family Feud, so I didn't bring Richard Dawson's, if it was somebody that I knew that on top of this, of course they're a game show host, all this kind of stuff.
Steve Harvey.
Steve Harvey. But he's a great, like Richard Dawson's character, Killian, in that movie is a great villain. Yeah. And he gets his at the end. And it's super fun.
And it's great because when and it's so, like, it's perfect when he, because you get Schwarzenegger throws out his Terminator line, "I'll be back," and then he goes, "Only in reruns."
That's right. Yeah, no, it's great. And like, I like Josh Brolin a lot. And I like Coleman Domingo a lot. And especially in this movie, I can't really understand how they let it happen. Coleman Domingo is boring. And it's not Coleman Domingo's fault. Coleman, like Sean Hayes
he's just like a facade.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, Sean Hayes shows up as one of the like Gary Greenbucks.
I know. Yeah, I had to look it up.
Yeah, it's so silly. But like these are people that are dynamic and exciting and make an impression and stuff. And Coleman Domingo has been a lot better in a lot of different things.
Yeah.
But Stanley Tucci again in the Hunger Games has Josh Brolin's teeth. Coleman Domingo's role as the host of the Hunger Games show, where they introduce you to the contestants and they follow along, they do the commentary and all that kind of stuff. And that really, as far as like, how does this compare to the last one? What they did with the Killian character was actually the most frustrating and the most disappointing.
Yeah.
They could have cast one, like could have cast Steve Harvey, like, you know, who knows? They could have cast one person, but the idea that they split that character into two, it didn't make sense to me, because Josh Brolin's portrayal of this character, like he's a pretty energetic, dynamic person, and if you said Josh Brolin is a handsome game show host, okay, I mean, I feel like
they could have cast, if they wanted to make it a single character, they could have cast either one of them.
Right, exactly. And
I mean, it would have been a different performance,
but they would have written it more tightly, and it would have been more effective. And the idea that somebody is the face of it, and also really is the person in charge. I mean, that's the major in The Long Walk.
Yeah.
Like that's fine. I don't have a problem with that.
I mean, Coleman Domingo as Killian and the host, I think actually probably would have been a pretty good choice.
Yeah, it'd been fun.
Yeah.
Coleman Domingo's he's a delight. He's just fun to watch. And so if you cast him as some murderous villain or his whole thing with like at the end of the thing when stuff starts to come apart, Josh Brolin's like, you're going to go on the air, you're going to do that. And he's got his goons come up with guns. And Coleman Domingo's like, fuck off. That's not really going to happen. You're not going to touch me. And he's right.
Yeah.
But I feel like when you make a remake of a movie that exists, that is I don't think The Running Man is a classic, but it is a great example of an 80s action movie. RoboCop is a classic. And the RoboCop remake,
I think RoboCop had more to say too.
Absolutely. The RoboCop remake does not suck, and it's got some really interesting stuff in it.
I've only seen part. I haven't really watched. It's one of the ones I think I saw. I saw like the last third of it, and I watched it, and I never saw the rest.
Well, I mean,
of it.
It's got an incredible cast. You know, it's got Joel Kinnaman, and Michael Keaton is great in it, and it's got Gary Oldman and all this stuff. And there's a lot of stuff that's similar, and it's one of those things like, if the original RoboCop didn't exist and the RoboCop remake was the movie, you might like it better. The same way with like Total Recall is one of the all-time stone cold classic movies of all time. Same director as RoboCop, same star as The Running Man, and then they made the Colin Farrell, Jessica Biel, Bryan Cranston remake of Total Recall.
I didn't even want to see
it's
that.
not great, but it's actually worse, because they made it a Total Recall movie. It's not about even going to Mars or anything like that. Like it just doesn't work. So this movie is an adaptation of an existing story, but it is still, to the audience that's old enough like us, it's still a remake of a movie from the 80s.
Yeah.
And some of the choices that they make, I understand they want to do something different. They bothered me, and that choice to split those two characters was actually the most disappointing, because that should have been easy. That should have been an easy way to give us a real villain, because that's what they did in the first movie. Why would you mess with it?
I feel like the other problem with this movie too is that it's like, I feel like you have to. I don't know if it's possible to make a movie like this that could be like super like entertaining action movie and also properly be like a critique on all the things that we've been talking about. Like, can you really do that? I mean, like, I feel like when you
it's called RoboCop.
Well,
it's called Starship Troopers. Yeah.
Well, as I was getting ready to say, I was like, RoboCop kind of did. I mean, like, I think RoboCop did it even better than Starship Troopers. Starship Troopers kind of was like, okay, but I think probably the most like the closest that anybody ever got would be RoboCop. But RoboCop, even that is like, it's so dark. I mean, like, especially in the beginning. I have trouble watching that. Like,
it's rough, man.
If I can get past that first part, but I feel like you kind of have to watch that first part to make the ending become so much more satisfying.
Look, I have a friend who I said, "Hey, have you seen the John Wick movies?" And he said, "I watched the first one, and then they killed the dog, and I got upset and I turned it off." And I was like, dude, the whole point of the movie, and then the next movie, and the next movie, and the next movie is don't kill people's dogs. They will destroy you.
Yeah.
So I said, you should give it a shot. So he came over and he watched the first John Wick. And we just finished John Wick 4. Like, he watched all of them because they're great. And these movies, you have to give a movie a chance to go.
Yeah.
But I get it. Like when Peter Weller gets literally pieces of him shot off.
Yeah,
by Clarence Boddicker and
when he gets
Laura Palmer's dad and all this stuff. Like, it's so upsetting.
When they shoot off his hand and they're laughing at him.
Oh, it's
as he's
so
looking
upsetting.
That's probably the hardest part. But then when they freaking melt the guy with toxic waste and then they run him over with the car, you're like, yes.
Well, that's the other thing is that the villains really get what they deserve.
Oh yeah.
When I'm totally blanking on the actor's name, the Laura Palmer's dad, when he drops all the scrap on RoboCop at the end.
Yeah.
And then RoboCop's partner Lewis shoots him with the big cannon gun and kills him, and then Clarence Boddicker
gets the big
knife. Like blade in his neck, and so like that movie is an extremely satisfying dispatch of villains, even though the real villain is the old man who runs
Ronny
the corporation,
Cox.
And he's survived. No, Ronny Cox is the one who gets thrown out of the building. But,
that's right.
Dick.
Oh, that's
very disappointed.
Yeah.
That's Ronny Cox's
really
boss.
Yeah.
But I mean,
that whole thing is real satisfying too. What happens inside the what's the name of the corporation? Omnicorp. And
we could talk about that movie. I love. I know. God, there's so many little moments.
I forgot. I forgot what movie we were talking about.
Well, that's anyway. A problem. I think that like I watched The Running Man on I guess it's on Paramount Plus or something, and it wasn't homework or anything. Like I want to watch a movie for us to talk about, and I want every movie that I ever watch to be good. I just found it disappointing over and over, and not that compelling, and that was too bad because it's got so many people in it and behind it that I really like.
I mean, that's the thing. I felt like you had a good director, a very charismatic, I don't even know if you call him up and coming anymore, but Glenn Powell, who's the hot A-list actor now. You have
he's working towards becoming a movie star. If such a thing exists.
Solid source material, and it just doesn't. There's something about it. It just kind of misses the mark. So it's like when I saw like a lot of the these reviews, a lot of these like 5.5, 6 out of 10s, I'm like, yeah, I could go along with that. That feels about right.
I mean, sometimes like okay, did you read and or see Cloud Atlas?
Oh, I saw Cloud Atlas, but I'll be honest with you, that movie was. A lot of that did not stick with me. I just remember a lot of it was Tom Hanks looking crazy.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean,
what I remember.
The thing with something like Cloud Atlas, and I don't think it's like a bad adaptation of the novel or something, which is a great read and everything. Parts of Cloud Atlas are awesome. Really unbelievably good. And parts of it are like, are you really putting that yellow face makeup on that white actor? Like, what are you doing? And I wanted The Running Man to have at least a memorable sequence or something. And I guess the closest to that is the Michael Cera section.
Yeah.
But I honestly spent half of the time going, did Michael Cera really grow that beard or is that makeup? Because he's ever boyish.
I did like.
He's not bad.
I did like part of the fight scene. I think the Lee Pace when he's fighting Lee Pace
on the airplane.
In the airplane, I'm like, when he's fighting the pilots, that part was okay. But when he's fighting Lee Pace, I did like that part a little more.
There's some good stuff in the movie. I just didn't really get into it.
That's like
I wrote boring as my first note. So
what's the movie from the guy who did? This is another movie that it's like. I like the movie, but I'll never defend it. And it's the movie from the guy who did Donnie Darko, Southland Tales.
Oh, that's a crazy one. It's a crazy all-time stinkers. That's worth watching if you like crazy movies. It's not a good movie.
Yeah. I'll never try to defend that movie. But there's something about that movie. It's just there's something so weird about it. Like
you know what it is. You know what that movie is. That movie, and I feel like what I'm about to say, even if it doesn't work
Yeah.
It's exciting to see. That movie is insanely ambitious.
Yeah. Okay, I'll go.
It's so ambitious. Like, I haven't seen Megalopolis because Francis Ford Coppola only wants me to see it in the theater and it hasn't come out on home video.
Yeah.
I am sure that I will have the same experience with that. I'll be like, this is terrible and crazy.
It's a beautiful mess.
And what an incredible thing to watch. Yeah. And this movie, it doesn't have that kind of ambition. And part of it is because of what you said at the beginning, which is it doesn't feel like an Edgar Wright movie. And an Edgar Wright movie is a distinct
no ambition. Like it doesn't. Somebody said that it what was something it doesn't want to It'll push the knife in but not leave a scar, and I was like,
interesting.
I was like, okay. Well,
look, I mean, Edgar Wright makes movies that you're like, whether I like it or not, that's an Edgar Wright movie. You know who else makes movies like that? Guy Ritchie.
Yeah,
Guy Ritchie movies always look like Guy Ritchie movies, except that he made a movie or two in the past couple of years that weren't as much. But like some of his movies that like I really like The Man from U.N.C.L.E. I really like The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. There's no mistaking who made these movies.
Yeah.
And Edgar Wright has been drifting away from what Edgar Wright movies were.
Yeah.
And that's
unfortunate.
Actually kind of makes me feel badly because it's really hard to make a movie at all.
Yeah.
And this movie wasn't like poorly crafted or it didn't, it wasn't poorly lit. It didn't look like some sort of streaming original or whatever. Like this is a real blockbuster movie. But ultimately I was pretty disappointed. And if somebody said to me, is The Running Man good? You know what I would say?
No.
Why don't you go watch Dredd?
Yeah. If you want to see a movie like that, I could get on board with that.
And I will warn you, Dredd is insanely violent and insanely gory. But that's part of the story. And it's also Alex Garland, who if you listen to this show before, I love his stuff. I love Civil War and Ex Machina and Annihilation and all those great things.
I wish they would have made a
20
sequel to
days later.
To Dredd. That was a
look, anything is possible. Every show that gets canceled, people freak out. Apparently they're doing a Firefly reboot. No, and you know what? Well, fucking watch it. I love that show.
Yeah. Well, did you have anything else to add to this movie?
No, I just think people should watch Dredd.
I mean, yeah, I think this is if you're really compelled to see a remake of an 80s movie, then there's other ones.
Look, it's got great people in it. It's got Lee Pace, it's got Glenn Powell, it's got Josh Brolin, it's got Coleman Domingo, it's got Katie O'Brien. There's people in it that I really like. It's just I would wait till it came together.
I think I would wait till it comes on to a streaming service that you already subscribe to. That's what I would say.
So you're saying you shouldn't get a trial of Paramount Plus for this movie?
Oh, I mean, I'm just saying I don't think you should go out of your way to spend extra on it.
I gotcha. If you want to get a trial or subscribe to Paramount Plus, it's because you want to watch the show Evil. That's worth your time.
I've seen that. I keep trying to talk my wife into that.
Oh my God, it's so good.
Well, I'm a big Michael Emerson fan. I like him ever since Lost.
He's great. I mean, that's a show that's full of familiar faces. It's by the writers behind some of my favorite shows, big network shows: The Good Wife, The Good Fight, Brain Dead.
Yeah.
And just smart and funny and clever. And to my great pleasurable surprise, stuff in Evil there's some stuff in it that's really scary, like actually genuinely frightening and unsettling. And this movie never really got me excited like that, even though it has parts that work and has a lot of people in it that I like. So I would say this movie is not garbage. But when people say, "Oh my God, I loved it. It was incredible," I genuinely don't understand where they're coming from because it never gelled for me.
Yeah, and I never really got excited about it. I was like, disappointed.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think that's a wrap on Running Man, and we'll be back next week. We'll be talking about No Way Out, which is quite a different movie, except that it does fall into our men in disparate situations theme. So, and. You can follow us on Instagram. We're at StoryPunkPod, and we have the updates on when we drop our newest episodes. I'm trying to keep that current, and you can find out other information as well on our Facebook page for StoryPunk. And also, I am on Letterboxd. I'm very careful not to call it Storybox. I don't know where that comes from sometimes. And
it could be from the name of our show, but
probably,
I'm just guessing.
I think so, yeah.
I'm just spitballing here.
And my name on Letterboxd is Storypunk Scott, and Drew is also on Letterboxd.
Solid Gould.
He is Solid Gould. And I guess that's it. We're slightly disappointed, but other than that, remember, as always, story matters.